Today we're starting in page 70 of your science book, okay? So page 70 at the bottom, you can see it there. We're going to start learning about ecosystems. You're going to need your notes out, so make sure you got your chapter 3 notes out. Keep these in your book, remember, until we're all the way done with the chapter, and then send them back, okay? You are there. You are standing where the ocean meets the land. You can feel the warm sunlight on your face. You hear the waves rush onto the shore. You wiggle your toes in the cool, damp sand. Birds circle above you. This is a terrific place for you to visit. What makes it a perfect place for certain plants and animals to live? What do you think? Why would this be a good place for plants and animals to live? Looks like we got all these healthy green plants. Well, it provides an area, an ecosystem, an environment for those animals to live and thrive in. For plants, there's plenty of water here so that they can get all of the water that they need to make their food, etc. Well, let's look at lesson 1. What are ecosystems? If you open up your notes, the first thing on the front, you can see that in this ecosystem, we've got some non-living things like this rock, and some living things like this bunny, the plants, etc. Okay? Now, as we start lesson 1, the first thing we're going to be looking for is what is an environment? Okay? What are ecosystems? Plants and animals meet their needs in the place where they live. Living things depend on other living things and non-living things around them. Places for living things. Each living thing needs a certain environment. A living thing's environment is everything that surrounds it. So an environment is everything that surrounds a living thing. Everything that surrounds a living thing. Now, an environment is going to include living and non-living things. We're going to read about what are some of those different living and non-living things. The living parts include plants, animals, and other living things. So, living things include plants and animals. Remember, plants are living. They grow. They're living. Non-living things include sunlight, air, water, and soil. Sunlight, air, water, and soil. Let's look at this picture here. Which parts of this picture are living and which are non-living? Let's go ahead and just put an L on the living things and an N on the non-living things. Let's just start up here. Is the sun living? Nope. N. What about the tree? Yep. Living. What about this water coming from the cloud? Nope. Non-living. What about this deer? Yep. Living. This plant mushroom? Yep. Looks like there's maybe a snail on there too. Those are both living. Wolf. Living. What about the grass? Yep. Living. Right, because it's a plant. All right. Next, as we read, let's look for what the climate is. Sunlight warms the air, water, and soil to temperature that living things need. Sunlight helps plants make food. An environment has a climate. Climate is the weather in a place all year. So climate is the weather in a place all year. So if you say it's 76 degrees today, that's not the climate, that's just the weather. Climate is when you're talking about the entire year, a big span of time. One environment might have cold, wet winters and hot, dry summers. Another environment might be cold and dry all year long. Water and soil are important parts of an environment. Water falls as rain and snow. The water enters the soil. Soils differ in the way they hold the water. Each type of plant needs a certain amount of water and a certain kind of soil. So, in an environment, living and non-living things act together. Sorry, that's going to be ecosystem when we turn the page. Okay, so all different parts of the world are very, very different in what type of environment they have. The soil's different. Water's different as far as how much. Is it dry, like a desert? Or is it rain all the time, like in a wetland? Page 72, parts of an ecosystem. Living and non-living parts of an environment act together or interact. These interacting parts make up an ecosystem. So ecosystem is how those things interact together. Number 5, let's look for what non-living things does a redwood tree need? The living parts of an ecosystem depend on non-living parts. For example, coastal redwood trees need sunlight, soil, and air. So what do they need? Top of the next page. Sunlight, soil, and air. It's depending on those non-living things. Go ahead, pause it if you're not done. I'm moving on. They also need a lot of water. There is plenty of rain in the winter, but little rain falls in the summer. In the summer, trees get water from fog that rolls in from the ocean. The living parts of an ecosystem also depend on one another. For example, some seabirds eat fish from the ocean. The birds nest in the redwood trees. Habitats. The place where a living thing makes its home is its habitat. Place where an animal makes its home. It's what we call their habitat. A habitat has all the things that a plant or animal needs to live. A redwood forest can be a habitat for many plants and animals. There is light, air, water, living space, and pollinators for plants. Animals find food, water, shelter, and living space in the forest. If any of these things are missing, something will change. Some plants and animals may no longer find what they need to live. Plants and animals may die. Animals may move to a different habitat. So what happens if it doesn't have anything they need? Well, the animal has to move. The animal has to go somewhere else to survive. All right, that's where we'll stop for today. Just put those notes, tuck them right in your book, and keep them safe here, where we'll pick it up tomorrow.